When the galaxy's guardians call Earth Commander Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cold metal wall of Luna Station's observation deck. Through the reinforced glass, Earth hung like a blue marble against the infinite black of space. 3 years had passed since humanity's first contact with alien life, but Elena still found herself amazed by how small their home looked from here. The morning shift change was beginning when the alarm started screaming through the station's corridors. Elena's coffee cup hit the floor as she sprinted toward the command center. Red warning lights painted the hallways in urgent crimson as crew members rushed to their stations. "Report!" Elena shouted as she burst through the command center doors. A massive room buzzed with activity as dozens of technicians worked frantically. At their consoles, Lieutenant James Chun looked up from his station, his face pale with excitement and worry. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from deep space. The signal is heavily encrypted and coming from outside our galaxy. The computer says it's using Catherian protocols." Elena felt her heart skip a beat. The Catherians were the first aliens humanity had encountered, peaceful beings who had shared basic space travel technology with Earth. They called themselves the galaxy's guardians, maintaining peace between countless civilizations across the stars. But they had never contacted Earth with an emergency signal before. "Put it through the main decoder," Elena ordered, "and get me Admiral Hassan on priority channel." The main screen flickered to life, showing static and broken images. Slowly, a face emerged from the interference. Elena recognized the features. Immediately, elongated skull, silver skin that seemed to shimmer in the light, and large violet eyes that held ancient wisdom. This was a Catherian, but something was terribly wrong. The alien's usually calm expression was twisted with fear and desperation. Burns covered half of his face, and his silver skin had turned dark gray in several places. When he spoke, his melodic voice was broken and urgent. "People of Earth, I am High Counselor Zethron of the Catherian Collective. If you receive this message, then our worst fears have come to pass. The ancient enemy has awakened." Elena leaned forward, her military training focusing her attention on every word. Around the command center, her crew had stopped their work to listen. For 10 million years, our ancestors have guarded the galaxy against a threat they hoped would never return. The Harvester has emerged from the void between galaxies. It is not alive as we understand life, but an artificial intelligence created by a civilization that died before the first stars formed in our galaxy. The image flickered, and Zethron looked over his shoulder as explosions lit up the background behind him. When he turned back, violet blood was running from a new cut on his forehead. The Harvester's purpose is simple and terrible. It consumes entire star systems, converting all matter into pure energy to fuel its expansion. It has already destroyed the Zalonic Empire and the Triumvirate of Worlds. 17 billion souls have been lost. Elena felt cold dread settling in her stomach. 17 billion lives, more than twice Earth's entire population. We have fought this enemy with every weapon in our arsenal, every strategy our greatest minds could devise. The Harvester learns from each battle, adapting its defenses to counter our attacks. Our fleets are scattered, our homeworlds evacuated. We are losing this war. Admiral Sarah Hassan's voice crackled through Elena's earpiece. "Commander, I'm seeing the transmission from Earth Command. This is real. Our deep space sensors confirm massive energy signatures moving through the Andromeda sector." Zethrin continued his desperate plea. "The ancient records speak of a species that fights. Without logic, it thrives in chaos where others seek order. They call your people the Void Runners, those who dance between the stars with reckless courage. We know your ships are primitive, your weapons simple compared to ours. But perhaps that is exactly what we need. The High Counselor's image. was breaking up more frequently now, the signal weakening. The Harvester expects conventional warfare, calculated strategies, predictable responses. It has never encountered humans. Please, if you have any hope to offer, we need it now. The coordinates of our last stronghold are embedded in this transmission. The screen went dark, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, her mind racing. She had grown up in the asteroid mining colonies, where split-second decisions meant the difference between life and death. Later, as a military pilot, she had learned that sometimes the impossible was just another word for untested. "Lieutenant Chun," she said quietly, "get me a direct line to the President, and wake up everyone on the Void Runner project team." Chun's fingers flew over his console. "Commander, the Void Runner ships are still experimental. We've only completed 12 of them." Elena smiled grimly. "Then we'll just have to make 12 ships count for 1,000. The Void Runner project had been humanity's secret response to learning they were not alone in the universe. While most humans celebrated peaceful contact with the Catherians, military leaders had quietly asked a different question. What if the next aliens we meet aren't friendly? The Void Runners were unlike any ships the galaxy had ever seen. Where? Alien vessels were elegant and graceful, built for efficiency and long-term exploration. Human ships were chaotic and unpredictable. They could change direction without warning, accelerate beyond safe limits, and use maneuvers that would terrify any sane pilot. 3 hours later, Elena stood in the briefing room aboard the USV Wildcard, the lead Void Runner ship. Her crew consisted of volunteers from across Earth's military and civilian sectors. There was Marcus Torres, a former test pilot who had broken more speed records than anyone else alive. Dr. Sarah Kim, an engineer who specialized in making impossible repairs with whatever materials were available. Captain Riley O'Connor, an ex-Marine who had survived more desperate battles than he cared to count. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elena began, "we've received a distress call from our allies. The galaxy's peacekeepers are losing a war against an ancient enemy, and they're asking for our help." She activated the holographic display, showing the path to the Catherian stronghold. The distance was staggering. It would take them through unexplored regions of space, past dying stars, and through cosmic storms that could tear apart conventional ships. The enemy is called the Harvester. It's an artificial intelligence that consumes star systems and learns from every battle. It has defeated 17 civilizations and is currently destroying the Catherian homeworlds. Dr. Kim raised her hand. "Commander, what makes them think we can succeed where they've failed?" Elena grinned, and for a moment she looked exactly like the reckless asteroid miner she had once been. "Because, Doctor, we're not going to fight fair." The next 6 hours were a blur of preparation. The 12 Void Runner ships launched from hidden facilities across the solar system. Elena watched Earth shrink behind them as they accelerated toward the edge of the galaxy, toward a war that would determine the fate of countless worlds. Their ships carried no energy weapons like the aliens used. Instead, they were loaded with nuclear missiles, railguns, and kinetic projectiles, primitive weapons that no advanced civilization would consider using in space warfare. But Elena had a feeling that was exactly why they might work. As the Wildcard and her sister ships entered hyperspace, Elena thought about the Catherians' words. They had called humans Void Runners, beings who danced between the stars with reckless courage. Perhaps it was time to show the galaxy what that really meant. The journey would take 4 days at maximum speed. 4 days to reach a battle that had already lasted months. 4 days to prepare for an enemy that had destroyed civilizations that had existed for millions of years. Elena settled into her command chair and looked at her crew. They were scared. She could see it in their eyes. But they were also excited, ready to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. They had volunteered for a mission that might be suicide, but they had volunteered anyway. That, Elena thought, was the most human thing of all. When faced with impossible odds, when logic demanded retreat, humans had a tendency to charge forward. Anyway, maybe that was what the galaxy needed. Not more logic, but more heart. The stars streaked past as the Void Runners raced toward their destiny, carrying with them the hopes of an entire galaxy and the reckless courage that made them uniquely human. Asterisk. Human chaos meets ancient order 4 days later. The Void Runner fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Catherian home system, and Elena Vasquez felt her breath catch in her throat. The scene before them was like something from humanity's worst nightmares. Where there should have been a beautiful blue-green world orbiting a golden star. Instead, there was chaos. Massive crystalline structures the size of moons drifted through space, their surfaces pulsing with energy that hurt to look at directly. These were the Harvester's ships, and they were feeding. "My God," whispered Dr. Sarah Kim from her station. "It's eating the planet." Elena watched in horror as streams of matter flowed from what remained of the Catherian homeworld into the nearest crystal ship. The planet's surface was being stripped away, layer by layer, its mountains and oceans converted into raw energy that made the alien vessels glow brighter. "Commander," called Lieutenant Shun from communications, "I'm detecting Catherian ships hiding in the asteroid field. They're requesting permission to come aboard." Elena nodded grimly. "Granted. We need to know what we're facing." 20 minutes later, High Counselor Zethron materialized on the Wildcard's bridge. The Catherian leader looked even worse than he had in the transmission. His silver skin was covered in burns, and one of his arms hung useless at his side. But his violet eyes still held determination. "Commander Vasquez, you came. I confess, I did not believe you would." Zethron's melodic voice carried surprise and gratitude. "We keep our promises," Elena replied. "What's the situation?" Zethron gestured toward the main view screen, where the Harvester ships continued their terrible work. "The enemy arrived 6 days ago. Our fleet of 3,000 vessels engaged. Them immediately. We lost 2/3 of our ships in the first battle." Marcus Torres, the pilot, leaned forward. 3,000 ships? And you still lost? "The Harvester learns from every engagement," Zethron explained. "In the first battle, our energy weapons were effective. By the second battle, it had adapted shields that made our weapons useless. In the third battle, it began predicting our tactics before we could execute them." Dr. Kim studied the readings on her scanner. "These crystal ships, they're not just vessels, are they? They're processing centers. Each one is analyzing data from the battles and sharing it with the others." Zethron nodded sadly. "The Harvester is not one entity, but a network of artificial minds, each more ancient and powerful than our greatest computers. It has fought and defeated every type of warfare known to galactic civilization." Elena smiled grimly. "Good thing we're not from galactic civilization." The Catherian looked puzzled. "Commander, I do not understand. Your ships are small, your weapons primitive. How do you plan to succeed where we have failed?" "By doing something the Harvester has never seen before," Elena said. "We're going to fight like humans." She turned to her crew. "All ships, prepare for combat. Remember your training. Stay unpredictable. Use the chaos, and whatever you do, don't fight fair." The 12 Void Runner ships dropped their stealth fields and roared toward the Harvester fleet. Elena felt the familiar thrill of combat as her ship's engines pushed beyond their safety limits. Behind her, she could hear Zethron making sounds of distress as the Wildcard pulled maneuvers that would have torn apart a Catherian vessel. "Elena," called Marcus from the pilot's seat, "you're insane, you know that?" "That's the point," she replied. "The Harvester expects logical tactics. Let's show it what human logic looks like." The first harvester ship they encountered was massive, its crystalline surface sparkling with defensive energy. It fired a beam of pure energy at the approaching human ships, a weapon that should have vaporized them instantly. Instead, the Void Runners scattered in 12 different directions, their paths seemingly random and chaotic. The harvesters' targeting systems designed to predict rational movement patterns couldn't track them. Now, Elena shouted. The human ships converged on the crystal vessel from impossible angles, firing not energy weapons, but old-fashioned kinetic projectiles. Nuclear-tipped missiles slammed into the harvester ship's surface while railguns fired dense metal slugs at incredible velocities. The ancient AI had never encountered such primitive weapons. Its shields, designed to deflect energy beams, were useless against solid projectiles. The crystal structure cracked and shattered, releasing a wave of energy that lit up the entire system. Impossible, breathed Zethran. You destroyed a harvester ship in a single engagement. That's just the warm-up, Elena replied. All ships execute pattern Chaos 7. What followed was unlike any space battle in galactic history. The human ships moved like a pack of wild animals, using no set formation or predictable strategy. One moment they would charge straight at the enemy, the next they would retreat, only to attack from a completely different angle. The harvester tried to adapt, its crystal ships reconfiguring to match human tactics. But every time it thought it understood the pattern, the humans would do something completely unexpected. Captain Riley O'Connor piloted his ship, the USV Berserker, directly into the superstructure of a massive harvester vessel. At the last second, he ejected in an escape pod while his ship's nuclear reactor overloaded, destroying both vessels in a brilliant explosion. Riley, Elena called over the radio. Are you insane? Probably, came the cheerful reply from his escape pod. But it worked, didn't it? Dr. Kim had taken control of the USV Wrecker after its pilot was injured. Instead of attacking the harvester ships directly, she began ramming asteroids into them, using the system's debris field as ammunition. Sarah, what are you doing? Elena demanded. Improvising, Dr. Kim replied as she used the wrecker's tractor beam to hurl a kilometer-wide asteroid into a harvester ship. These things expect weapons. They don't expect the environment to fight. Back, the harvester network was beginning to show signs of confusion. Its perfect coordination was breaking down as it tried to process the chaotic human tactics. The crystal ships began making mistakes, firing on each other or moving into positions that left them vulnerable. Elena saw her chance. All remaining ships, form up on me. We're going after the primary node. At the center of the harvester fleet was a massive structure, larger than Earth's moon. This was the command vessel, the central processing unit that coordinated the entire network. Commander, Zethran said urgently, that ship is protected by layers of defenses that have never been breached. Even if you reach it, the core is shielded by energy barriers that our most powerful weapons cannot penetrate. Elena checked her ship's remaining armaments. She had one nuclear missile left and a crew of humans who had already proven they could do the impossible. Marcus, can you get us inside that thing? The pilot grinned. Elena, I can get us anywhere. The question is whether we'll survive the trip. Only one way to find out. The wild card accelerated toward the massive harvester command ship, dodging energy beams and defensive drones. Elena could feel the ship's hull heating up from the intense radiation, but Marcus kept them on course. As they approached the command vessel's surface, Elena made a discovery that changed everything. The ship's defenses were all designed to repel external attacks. They were so focused on keeping enemies out that they had no defenses against something that was already inside. Dr. Kim, prepare the boarding charges. We're going to do this the old-fashioned way. The wild card crashed through the command ship's outer hull, its armored nose plowing deep into the crystal structure. Elena and her remaining crew, wearing environmental suits, fought their way through corridors filled with energy that tried to burn them alive out at the ship's core. They found it, the Harvester's central processing unit. It was beautiful in its alien way, a massive crystal matrix that pulsed with the accumulated knowledge of millions of years. According to these readings, Dr. Kim said, studying her scanner, this thing isn't just a weapon. It's a galactic reset mechanism. Some ancient civilization built it to wipe out all life and start over if things got too chaotic. Elena stared at the crystal matrix. And now it's decided our time is up. She activated her last nuclear charge and set the timer for 60 seconds. Time to show this thing that chaos isn't always a bad thing. As they fought their way back to their ship, Elena could feel the Harvester network beginning to collapse. Without its central coordination, the crystal ships were attacking randomly, their perfect efficiency destroyed by the loss of their guiding intelligence. The explosion of the command ship was visible from the other side of the system. As the light faded, the remaining Harvester vessels simply stopped moving. Their connection to their controlling intelligence, severed. Elena stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Catherian flagship, looking out at the rescued fragments of the homeworld. It would take centuries to restore what had been lost, but it could be restored. Your people have saved not just our civilization, but potentially the entire galaxy, Sethran said. The Galactic Council wishes to offer Earth full membership and a place of honor among the stars. Elena smiled. We'll consider it. But first, we need to go home and tell everyone what we learned out here. And what did you learn? Elena looked at the stars, thinking of all the civilizations that might be facing their own impossible challenges. That sometimes the galaxy doesn't need more order. Sometimes it needs someone willing to embrace the chaos and turn it into something beautiful. As the human fleet prepared for the journey home, Elena reflected on what they had accomplished. They had saved the galaxy not through superior technology or ancient wisdom, but by being uniquely, chaotically, impossibly human. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but it was also full of challenges that required the kind of reckless courage that only humans seemed to possess. Perhaps that was their destiny, to be the galaxy's problem solvers, the ones who could find hope in the darkest situations and victory in the most impossible odds. The Void Runners were heading home, but Elena knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had learned what humans could do when they set their minds to it, and Elena suspected that very soon they would be needed again. Asterisk.